Is the mic on? Ah, ha, ha, there. All right. Go for it. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone, and Happy New Year to you. That's a great song to start with, by the way. Thank you. Thank you both. I have a little bit of a cold, or I'm getting over one. I've had it for a week now, so I don't think I'm contagious anymore. But I'm not going to come and shake hands and whatnot after the service, you'll understand. But thank you all so much for being here. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, as always, where we join together to create a nourishing liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. So welcome, everyone. Thank you for those of you who are here on this post-holiday service, early service. Glad to have you. Great to have those of you who are live streaming with us as well this morning. So thanks to one and all for being here. We embrace, as always, all that you bring with you. And I need to bring our unity candle out. I'm sorry, if you'll bear with me for just a second, because I think this is an important part of our ritual. Okay, thank you for tolerating that. For those who don't know, our unity candle is something we bring out in light in our services on behalf of one of our members who's passed away during the week. And for those who haven't heard, Linda Hodges, very long-time member of the church, passed away last night the night before last in her sleep at home. So she's not been well for a long time, and I spoke with Larry for a bit yesterday, her husband, and he's doing okay. And Larry's such a funny guy. I called to see how things are going, and he said, well, I'm sure her spirit's out there having fun somewhere, but right now she's still in bed. So, but anyway, I know that Larry and the family are missing her happy spirit and grieving her loss, so we're going to keep this candle lit on behalf of her light and life in our own lives these past many years. She will definitely be missed. I also want to let you know that today is the last day, official day of our art sale. You see some of the art still on the wall back there. The silent auction bidding that's been going on is going to end today at 12:45. So if there's a piece you've been looking at and want, please make that happen. I think you can go on the church website on your device and make that happen. So all the proceeds from this effort are going to the church. So thanks to everybody who's generously made bids and purchased art already, and of course to the entire team for making this happen. All right. So I don't want to go too long today. My sermon's about on the long side of what's long for me. So, and I've kind of thought, I feel that I should at least acknowledge this morning what transpired over the weekend, where our country has, to I think the shock of everybody, although nothing should be shocking anymore, invaded a foreign country and captured. I hesitate to refer to the man they captured as the leader of the nation, because he most definitely is a fiendish character in his own right, and was not legally in charge of the country. Having said that, this seems to be no way for our country to be operating, just to go into a foreign country and literally using our military to kidnap a leader, and then making an announcement that we're in charge of the United States is now going to run another country. I'm quite sure nobody elected anybody in this country who is barely functioning in our own government to make this audacious claim that we are now running another country. And of course, as you know, there's reason to doubt that's even happening. I mean, what happened? Did we have government agents parachute in overnight and go into the government building and now they're running things? What does that even mean? So it's just part of the incredible insanity, the daily chaos that I think we've experienced some headline around the name Trump almost every day since probably 2014. It's just insane that we're living through a time when a figure like this grasps so much of our attention and does things that are so incredibly disturbing. Other than that, I don't have any wisdom about this situation. It's almost unprecedented. Again, I have no love lost for Maduro. I want the people of Venezuela to be governed as they want to be governed, and that doesn't sound like that's something that we're advocating for at this time either. So there's a lot of reasons to be concerned, but mostly I just want to acknowledge this is just one more insane moment in our lives that we have to try to figure out how to hold ground when the ground continues to shift beneath our feet, and just to recognize that we are experiencing that kind of anxiety, that kind of uncertainty, and that all we can do is what we can do. And I think just about all we can do right now is acknowledge what we're feeling and recognize that we're not in it alone and that we're experiencing this together. So, I guess that's a nice segue into greeting one another this morning. At least we get to physically say hi to those that we are in this together with. So those of you who are in the room, at least, please greet one another, and those who are live streaming, feel free to do so through text or phone call, whatever. Thank you. I should also mention, you probably recognize that I'm wearing a necktie today. The first time I wore a necktie was the first service I did in this church, and I took it off before I even started speaking because nobody else was wearing a tie. Everybody applauded, and I pretty much don't wear ties except for weddings and funerals anymore. But this is a very special occasion because Riche and her wonderful daughters got me this. If you can't tell, these are little images of the Grinch. Yes, so it's very fitting, and I wanted to wear it. It's funny because last week Eva said, "We got you a Christmas present. Where is it, Mom?" And she said, "Well, I forgot it." And they said, "It's a Grinch bow tie." She said, "No, don't tell him, you know." And I said, "It's okay, just don't tell me what it looks like, and it'll be a surprise." I'm actually very glad it's not a bow tie, because I would not know how to tie a bow tie if it was. So this is even better. But thank you so much. Yeah, very, very special. So I will wear it today and can't wait for you girls to see me. And yes, they will. All right. We shall now light our chalice, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Carl Rogers was a formative figure in the humanistic psychology movement in the 20th century. He believed it was an egregious error to believe the only path to personal change required harsh criticism, self-criticism, that we must reject who we are to become someone different. Instead, Rogers taught that although it's a curious paradox, when we accept ourselves just as we are, then we can change. In other words, genuine transformation requires accepting current reality completely. When we stop fighting against what is, we create the space for organic growth. The energy previously spent in denial and resistance becomes available for actual change.
Okay, if we can stand and sing together again. Comfort me.
We'll now kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning. And I did want to begin with a candle on behalf of and let you know about Joseph and Reka Kotet's daughter, Attila, who I mentioned last week was in the hospital with cancer. She passed away earlier this week. Attila is Joseph's stepdaughter, Reka's daughter, so they're family is grieving. She was just diagnosed a very short time ago and went very quickly, so I'm sure they are in shock and deep grief at this time. Also, on behalf of, God, we've been saying we have this ongoing list. It seems like there's so many to add to it, but I certainly want to kindle a candle on behalf of the people of Venezuela this morning, who I'm sure are in a state of uncertainty, perhaps some overwhelmed with glee and some not, but nevertheless, they have no idea what's going to come next for them. We also kindle a candle, as we have been, on behalf of the people of Ukraine and Russia suffering from the war and violence there, the people of Israel and the Palestinian people, the people of Darfur and South Sudan, and of course the many frightened immigrants in our own country who continue to be discriminated against, as well as others who are regularly hearing racist comments by the government about the nature of their souls and spirits. So let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others whom you might be thinking of, and you're welcome to name them aloud if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
This song is dedicated to the memory of Nelson Mandela, great activist who was the first black president of South Africa, the country, and spent his whole life, 95 years, trying to make that happen, trying to make it an equal, democratic country. And finally he did achieve his dream. He died at the age of 95, as I probably already mentioned, but this song is a song that he would have loved, I think. And it was sung by Nina Simone and Miriam Makeba. Chula Siswe Ngamokala, O Jehovah, Wako Uzukan Gobela, in Kululeko, in Kulule, O Jehovah, Wako Uzukan Gobela. And Bob Dylan came in and he made another song fit it. They say every man needs protection. They say every man must fall. And so I swear I see my reflection somewhere far outside these walls. Chula sees I see my light come shining from the west on to the east. Any day now, any way now, I shall be released. Judas' way on Gaborkana. Oh, Jehovah, what goes up and goes down. And Kululeko, and Kulule. Oh, Jehovah, what goes up and goes down. Only wish I was Nina Simone.
Oh, you were great. Thank you, Pam. Just as you are. All right, it is time for our story for all ages, or time for all ages. And as always, I brought a special guest to help out. Let's see who it is today. Oh, it's somebody we've not seen for a while. I don't know how many of you remember. This is Professor Marty Pants. That's Pants with a Z. He sounds like you have the same cold I do, yes. Okay, well, anyway, I was just about to say Pans with a Z. That's good, because as I tell my students, if you want an A from Tants, you'd better get Tants a Z. Yes, Pants with a Z, we won't forget. Well, it's been a while since you visited us. So for those who don't know, Professor Pans with a Z is the world's most preeminent discoverologist. Now, would you mind, Professor, for those who don't know, remind us what exactly it is a discoverologist does? Yes. A discoverologist is a ditetal anthropomorph. He means a human being. That's what I just said. Yes, okay, go ahead. Please continue. A ditetal anthropomorph that uses protoplasmic endowments and ocular faculties, uses his hands and his eyes. Would you please stop repeating everything I say? I'll try. As I was saying, a discoverologist is a ditetal anthropomorph that uses protoplasmic endowments and ocular faculties to ascertain phenomena. Okay, wonderful. So thanks for reminding us in no uncertain terms that a discoverologist is a person who uses their hands and eyes to discover things. So what have you discovered lately? Well, I'm glad you asked, because I have recently made my greatest discovery ever. Your greatest discovery ever? That's very exciting. What have you discovered? Time travel. Time travel. That is amazing. Indeed it is. In fact, today I am coming to you from the distant past. From the distant past? Yes, from 1 year ago to be exact. 1 year ago. I traveled 1 year in less than 1 minute. Well, a year in 1 minute, that is extraordinary. How did you achieve this tremendous accomplishment? Well, you see, on New Year's Eve, I stayed awake until just 1 minute before midnight. And then I began counting to 60. And the second I was done, I had traveled from 2025 to 2026. Okay, I see. So you stayed up to see the new year arrive, did you? Indeed I did, which makes me a time traveler. Well, Dr. Pants with a Z, I don't want to disappoint you, but lots of people stayed awake until midnight on New Year's Eve to see the arrival of 2026. Yes, and I discovered it. Well, I understand, but you're not the first person to have discovered it, you see. Well, I didn't say I am. But it is new discovery to me, and that makes me a time traveler. Well, okay. And that, I think, is what we love about you, Professor. You love discovering new things every day, which keeps you young at heart, no matter how old You grow, and maybe discovering new things, even if they are only new to you, is your fountain of youth. Yes, and I discovered it. Yes, you discovered it. Well, we're glad you did. We hope you have a wonderful New Year, Professor Pants. That's Pants with a Z. Yes, Pants with a Z. And we wish you a happy New Year, and thank you so much for using your protoplasmic endowments and ocular faculties to come visit us today, all the way from the past, 2025. My pleasure. But I need to get going. I'm going to use my time-traveling skills this evening to travel from Sunday to Monday. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Your mind can be your enemy or your friend. If you always follow your heart, your mind will feel neglected. If you follow only your mind, your heart will never forgive you. Never ignore your conscience, but yet always be conscious of reason. Make your heart and mind friends, and you will have peace of mind throughout life's seasons. Susie Kassim from her book, Rise Up and Salute the Sun.
My favorite people of all time is Pete Seeger, who I know you know who he is. Even when I lived in Canada, he came up there during the McCarthy hearings. He kind of had to. He was a troublemaker as well as a wonderful musician in general. You can sing this song with me if you'd like. This song doesn't have the same meaning as it used to, I don't think, but this land is your land, this land is my land. It was, anyway. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. Now he comes along and he adds a few little details in there. As I was a-walking, I saw a sign there, and the sign said, private property. But on the other side, it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. Sing with me. This land was your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. One bright, shiny morning, in the shadow of a steeple, by the welfare office, I see my people. They stood there hungry, and I was wondering, is this land still made for you and me? This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking my freedom highway. Nobody living can make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land is made for you and me.
Pam, thank you so much. That song's such an incredible reminder of what should be, I think, a right of human beings all over the world, and that is to travel freely about this earth that we are part of. And was written at a time when even in this country that was not possible, that there were not the protections to guarantee that among the many rights we have just as citizens of this country is to move about it freely. So I recently watched a TED Talk, just a couple of days ago actually, by impact investor Tom Chi. Ultimately, it's about how robots are being used to restore nature, but he begins by describing what he calls a profound paradox, that almost everyone responds positively when asked how they feel about nature. Nature is inspiring. Nature is the most beautiful thing that exists, they say. They'll put it as a backdrop on their desktop and their phones, she says. Every single person you ask, you're going to get a positive response. And therein lies the paradox, he says. How did a group of individuals that love nature somehow create a civilization and industrial economy that is effectively a planetary assault on nature? Chi's answer is that we've all adapted to a belief that economic wins are trade-offs against the ecology. And if you care about the ecology, he says, and want to make that better, unfortunately, you're going to have to trade off economics or economic wins. So I'll invite you to listen to Chi's TED Talk on your own and learn what he thinks about why robots might be part of the solution. I mention it here because this paradox is the same one that I want to explore today, although more broadly than he does. For humanity's highest aspirations have always been to create a world of peace, of justice, of equality, of care, of compassion, kindness, and respect for others. These aspirations are the core of all our major world religions, going back hundreds, even thousands of years. So why haven't we been able to live up to them? Why are so many in our modern world still suffering from unnecessary war, violence, discrimination, poverty, hunger, homelessness, and so forth? Why, if we all know what kind of world we want, don't we have it? Why, if we know deep down what it means to be good, aren't we? Socrates once said, "No one knowingly does evil. No person knowingly does evil." And if we tweak that with a little bit of psychology, we might instead say, "No person consciously does evil." In other words, we convince ourselves that we're doing good when we aren't. And we achieve this by unconsciously justifying our bad behavior, by projecting our own evil onto those whom we choose to harm and exploit, convincing ourselves that they deserve it, by reserving good only for those like us whom believe, as we do, that they deserve it precisely because they are good like us, and sometimes by supporting other worthy causes to compensate for the wrongdoing elsewhere in our lives. When we knowingly do evil, it's difficult as social beings to face others, let alone to face ourselves in the mirror. Right? We all want to see ourselves as good. Yet the frequent conflict between our self-interest and the welfare of others is genuine. It's a genuine conflict, including our economic welfare versus that of the environment, as Chi points out. So this conflict is one that we ought to acknowledge and address, not deny. For it's okay and necessary to love ourselves. Some would say that it's not possible to truly love others if we don't. And this is why the opposite situation also arises when we always choose the welfare of others over our own interests. We justify permitting their bad behavior toward an exploitation of ourselves as a demonstration of our own selflessness and love, to avoid consciously acknowledging our fear, our weakness, our shame, and our own value as a person who deserves better. Our own interests are often, though not always, in competition with the interest of others. Yet because few, except the most socio and psychopathic among us, knowingly, consciously do evil, many of us deal with such conflict unconsciously. And this allows us to maintain the delusion that we are good persons, living up to moral ideals humans have uplifted for centuries, like compassion and care and kindness, justice, equality, and so on. Yet this unconscious approach to dealing with such conflict between our self-interest and the interest of others, between being selfless and selfish, thoughtful or thoughtless, is no solution because it allows us to convince ourselves that we are good people and that the persistent evils in the world, let's call them suffering and injustice, are caused by all the bad people out there who don't share our same interest, resulting in a world where our ancient and highest human aspirations can never be wholly achieved. If we could just get rid of all those evildoers who aren't like us, we imagine what a wonderful world it would be. So let's consider abortion, for example. Most people agree that abortion, although necessary at times, is not a good means of birth control. Hence, to reduce the number of abortions performed, one side of this divisive issue has concentrated on providing family planning, sex education, and contraception. And I won't go into all the research indicating this approach reduces the number of abortions necessary tremendously. Advocates of this approach are called pro-choice, but they are really more pro-life than anyone. Their approach is pro-life because it understands human welfare is far more than just being born, and that by providing women's health, education, contraception, opportunities, and by reducing unwanted pregnancies, that they are creating a greater quality of life. Those who call themselves pro-life, however, by and large, demonstrate little concern for quality of life, by which I mean the welfare of those who have been born. Their heavy-handed solution to abortion is to make it completely illegal and to charge anyone involved with the practice with murder. These anti-abortion advocates bear no responsibility for human welfare in the process, including those whose births they have insisted upon. They advocate for unwanted embryos, but do nothing for all the unwanted people suffering hate and injustice in the world, including in their own country. The political party that has for decades used abortion as a wedge issue to obtain power, and that has finally succeeded in outlawing abortion in many U.S. states, is the same party that routinely strives to eliminate any government-funded social services programs. And for years, it has blocked any efforts to make medical care an affordable and available reality to anyone, including for infants before and after they are born. It insists on and resents adequately funding public education for children. It resists and resents giving them food assistance. It resists and resents funding daycare programs for those not yet old enough to go to school. And for those who are grown, it resists and resents welfare programs for anyone. Doesn't address the housing crisis or serious life-threatening crises like climate change. And those pro-life advocates who support these regimes are mute when the man they helped elect makes racist statements about entire groups of unwanted born people and initiates policies that sweep them off our streets, locking them away in or sending them away to hellish circumstances without due process. They don't talk about how sacred life is when they see their government bomb fishing boats, giving orders to kill them all without producing 1 ounce of evidence that those aboard were even involved in any crimes, not that extrajudicial murder is justified even if they were. Excuse me. So without descending deeper into this dark line of reasoning, we begin to see why, though we all want to be good, or at least to see ourselves as good, there's still so much cruelty and injustice in the world. In the case of abortion, those who want to simply make it illegal, which places the moral responsibility on others, not themselves, deceive themselves into thinking that they are the moral heroes of the story for having pointed the finger at the evildoers in the world. Yet they've done nothing, nor risked anything, to make the world better for others by helping to improve their lives. Many of them use Christianity to help justify their position, even though their scriptures say nothing about abortion, and certainly don't elevate life above all other concerns. Jesus is reported to have said, "I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." Or as the New Living Translation puts it, "My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life." This was written in the Gospel of John in the 2nd century CE, which means Jesus probably never said anything like it. But the author of John, probably not his name, is the narrator who more than anyone else suggests that love is what was most central to Jesus' teachings and theology. God is love. 1 John 4:8 tells us, "And if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another." It also admits that no one has ever seen God. But if we love one another, God abides in us, and his love is perfected in us. That's how we know if we're good, at least according to this particular Christian author, by incarnating our most cherished beliefs in our care for the welfare of others. It's not about simply getting pregnant, staying pregnant, and giving birth, but helping everyone who has been born to have an abundant, satisfying life. It's not about making an idol of life. There are many things far more important in God's eyes than life, at least according to the writer of John, who also reports Jesus saying, "Greater love hath no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." Again, it's unlikely Jesus ever actually spoke these words. But at the very least, the author of John believed it to be a statement representative of his religion, that there are many matters far more important than just being born and staying alive. Let's consider another example. During last Sunday's Q&A period, the rise of white Christian nationalism was brought up. Just this past week, I heard a CNN report about Christian white nationalist minister Doug Wilson, based just down the road in Moscow, Idaho. With over 150 congregations as part of his growing movement and inroads into the White House through Pete Hegseth, his influence ought to be concerning. Although Wilson denies being a white nationalist, he strongly advocates for the merger of church and state, for eliminating a woman's right to vote, for criminalizing homosexuality, and has spoken positively about some forms of slavery. As the saying goes, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Here again, we see an individual and his movement believing that they are good people, even though they are advocating for inequality, injustice, and the suppression of those they disagree with, those who don't think, look, and act like themselves. Yet their selfish desire to oppress and exploit others is unconsciously suppressed under the guise of religion. The notion that they are just doing God's work, or as Wilson says in that report, because that's what the Bible says. Examples like these enable us to resolve Chee's quandary over how a world of nature lovers can at once be a world of environmental destruction. It also helps us understand my broader question regarding how, if we all want so desperately to be good, we continue treating others so horribly. The answer is that too many of us have unconsciously fooled ourselves into believing that we're good when we're not. If you don't like the answer the measuring stick gives you, change the measuring stick. If good behavior is, as the world's religions agree, as well as other ethical systems, measured by how much peace and justice and equality and care and compassion and kindness and respect for others we create, then we cannot prioritize our own needs and desires at the expense of others. That's an inconvenient truth. So rather than live with it, we find new measuring standards that cost everyone but ourselves. We've outlawed abortion. Yay! What good people we are. Meanwhile, zip tie the hands of those immigrant children over there before pulling them away from their families and tossing them into a cage with no more than an aluminum foil blanket to keep them warm. Go pro-life. Yay. Today, most people in the world still claim to believe in at least one of those ancient religions that emerged beginning almost 3,000 years ago. Confucianism and Taoism in China, Hinduism and Buddhism in India, monotheism in Israel, philosophical rationalism in Greece, and later Rabbinic Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, all of which were originally born in response to social injustice and oppression. Yet along the way, in order to bypass the personal sacrifices that these religions demand of us in relation to others, we made them about something else. Dead words in chiseled stone, heartless doctrines, unyielding creeds, purity codes, obeying your masters, going to church, saying your prayers at night, or other pious acts meant to absolve us from devotion to the true heart from which religion was born, not of the gods, but of goodness in mankind, our longings, our deepest yearnings, our common yearnings for peace and justice and kindness and respect for one another. So questions like those Tom Chi and I are asking have been around for a very long time. Why, if we love nature, do we destroy it? Why, if we want peace, do we make war? Why, if we long for a world of peace and compassion and justice and kindness, are we so hostile, careless, unfair, and cruel? There are a profound couple of verses in the Hebrew Scriptures that were written nearly 600 years ago, BCE. I should say 600 years BCE, not 600 years ago, so 2,600 years ago. They say, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statute and to carefully observe my ordinances. These verses from Ezekiel tell us that there is something far more important than to follow than those cherished commandments chiseled in stone. Something more important than following our own made-up rules to the letter of the law just so that we can feel good about ourselves while behaving contemptibly toward others. I will remove your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. It is not what is written on a rock outside of you, but something within you already know that ought to be your guide, that which Ezekiel calls a heart of flesh. The heart of flesh follows a different law, not one birthed by divine command, but one that comes already packed within each of us the moment we're born, knowing the difference between pain and pleasure. To be good people only requires us to recognize the humanity of others, understanding that they experience the same pains and the same pleasures as ourselves. The only rule we need to follow then is the universal golden rule. Don't do to others what we would not want done to ourselves. At least that's how it's most often been stated in most cultures, is a prohibition against harming others in ways we would not want to be harmed. Jesus, as with many such sayings, flipped it into a prescription that we ought to intentionally do for others what we want done for ourselves. This is to say that we have a moral obligation to attend to the welfare of others, as individuals and as a society. We don't simply respond to their suffering, but proactively establish systems to prevent them from suffering to begin with. I call this the law of flesh because it's not something external to us like stone tablets, church doctrines, written laws, municipal codes, etc. It's simply following our hearts by creating the world we've always longed for ourselves, by living with others in the ways that we want them to live with us, with peace and justice, equality, care, compassion, kindness, respect. This is in contrast to the misguided piety of people like Doug Wilson, who hide behind their cold interpretation of the written word to justify taking from others what they want for themselves. Wilson wants to turn back the clock on gay rights because that's what the Bible says. While I question his interpretation of the very few verses available to potentially justify such a claim, I'll cite one that I'm guessing he's not considered. Also from Ezekiel, the prophet who wishes to remove our legalistic, pious hearts of stone to make room for our hearts of flesh by being moved with compassion and a caring inner spirit. Wilson, like many, inconveniently interprets the fictional destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah as a punishment for some of the citizens wishing to brutalize and rape strangers among them. He uses this story to justify his dislike of gay couples who engage in consensual, mutual, and loving relationships. How can you get that twisted? Yet Ezekiel says, "Now this is the sin of Sodom. She and her daughters were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and the needy." That was the city's evil, an unwillingness to care for one another, if you believe what's written in the Bible. Dear Mr. Wilson, if you're by some chance listening, the Bible also says that animals with paws are an abomination. But I don't see anybody persecuting dog and cat lovers in the name of Christ. Not in the way you advocate for discriminating against other human beings. So here's another verse from your holy book you don't seem to be aware of. "The Lord hath told you, O man, what is good, and what the Lord requires of you, only this, to do what is right, to show mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." Sadly, those who are not committed to creating this ever-flowing stream of justice and kindness and love, those who turn to letters chiseled, etched, and ink-stained onto idolatrized documents, but do not have this heart of flesh, do not abide by what we all come into this world understanding, the difference between pain and pleasure, having allowed their hearts, I should say, to harden. They have developed hearts of stone, a tragic condition exemplified in another story from the Bible, particularly the Hebrew Scriptures. that of the Egyptian Pharaoh, who, no matter how terrible things get for his entire kingdom, refuses to release the Israelites from bondage and slavery. First came water contaminated with blood, an apt metaphor, followed by an onslaught of frogs, swarms of flies, sick and dying livestock, a breakout of boils, destructive storms, locusts, darkness, leading to the deaths of even some of their own children. Still, after each calamity, even after promising to finally free them, the scripture says, the heart of the Pharaoh was hardened, and he would not let the Israelites go. Perhaps that's the problem with our world today. There are still too many hard hearts to crack. Too many who don't yet understand that being good is not a matter of believing the right things or defending the right rules, but of how gently and justly we treat one another. When we replace our false hearts of stone with our true hearts of flesh, when we choose kindness over cruelty, mercy over judgment, and care over contempt, we become the good people we already believe ourselves to be. Thank you.
Okay, if you could please stand and let's sing together. Building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way, and we are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free.
For the closing words, Thomas More from his book Care of the Soul. As the poets and painters of centuries have tried to tell us, art is not about the expression of talent or the making of pretty things. It is about the preservation and containment of soul. It is about arresting life and making it available for contemplation. Art captures the eternal in the everyday, and it is the eternal that feeds the soul, the whole world in a grain of sand. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.